With us now is Dr. Jose Cordeiro and Bill Faloon. A real pleasure and privilege, sir. Bill, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Richard.
I listened to your lecture. It was really fascinating. And I was thinking about evolution. You mentioned that and how humanity may be an evolutionary mistake. Some people say halfway from the ancestral ape to what must come next. Please elaborate.
Well, we got to this point through random evolution in a way, but now we can control it, we can direct it better, we can look for certain things and avoid other things. So I call this conscious evolution, technological evolution into the future, so that we live longer, happier, better, more intelligent, more fulfilling lives.
So interesting. And you were speaking about transhumanism in general and technology and nanotechnology. Please elaborate a little more on that.
Yeah, well, transhumanism is a philosophy similar to Nikolai Fedorov in the late 19th century that he called cosmism in Russia. Transhumanism is in a way similar how the power of technology can improve humanity and how we can transcend the current human limitations. We have many limitations. Actually, our organs, our eyes, our noses, our ears, are very bad even compared to other animals. In the animal kingdom, they have better capabilities than we humans in many things. And for example, thinking about the Cyborg Olympic Games that began last year in Zurich, Switzerland, the Cybathlon, the Cyborg Olympic Games, we had people who were disabled, who had no legs, no arms, soon people who are blind that will be enhanced with technology, and they will go from being disabled to being super abled. This is part of the idea of transhumanism, transcending human limitations to live better, healthier, longer lives.
Well, speaking of progress and those that inhibit progress, Bill, you wrote this book, Pharmocracy, and I believe you're writing a rewrite of it, which seems to be what occurs in today's world.
Pharmocracy 2 will come out. The purpose of the book is to expose the corruption that exists within the federal government that slows down or stops altogether biomedical progress. People are dying today needlessly because of the obstacles erected by the Food and Drug Administration against the rapid development of drugs to slow aging, reverse aging, cure disease. We have got to remove the bureaucratic barriers that are impeding technological innovation.
What are your thoughts with regard to that, sir?
Yeah, regulations sometimes stop the advancement of science. Many people are worried about what is called the precautionary principle, but I think we actually have to move forward in what we call the proactionary principle. So it's not so much precaution, but to see the advantages of science and technology. In fact, humanity has advanced so much in the last few decades thanks to science and technology. And for that matter, it is also important international competition in several systems, because the USA lost a big opportunity with stem cell research, about 20 years ago, and then other countries began moving much faster, like Singapore, South Korea, Japan. So we live in a global world where we have to compete for better systems, more efficient systems, so that medicine, biotechnology advance for the benefit of humanity.
How do you see the cooperation between different research institutes in this direction?
Well, there is cooperation, but not enough. There's too much commercialization. And the purpose of the Life Extension Foundation as a nonprofit entity is to bring together different minds, different technologies, so that we can share information and accelerate the development of technologies that will eventually eliminate most of the degenerative illnesses that relate to aging. Aging was long ago and has always been considered inevitable. Technology now indicates we can slow it. That's an absolute fact. We can slow aging. We can also accelerate it. If a person wants to smoke a lot of cigarettes, drink a lot of alcohol, and lay out in the sun, it's going to show. Their skin will age in an accelerated way. But we can go the opposite. We can protect ourselves against aging factors, live longer, and live healthier.
You've been subjected to a lot of, I would say, obstruction in your career. It seems throughout history, innovation, science has always been accompanied by skepticism, those who belittle it and question it. Share with our audience some of the experiences you've had with regard to medications that you've advocated that were ridiculed or rejected and finally later reluctantly recognized.
We introduced the concept of low-dose aspirin to reduce the risk of heart attack back in 1983. We spent 15 years battling the Food and Drug Administration. Now, we weren't selling aspirin back then. We were just telling people, take a low dose of it if you're at risk for heart attack or ischemic stroke. And the latest information out is that low-dose aspirin will reduce cancer risk. So we have to constantly battle the Food and Drug Administration to just get our information out the door, to let people know they can extend their lifespan with existing technologies. You look at the anti-diabetic drug metformin. In England, it was used back in 1958. Did not start being used in the United States until 1995. About a 37-year delay because we had a Food and Drug Administration standing in the way of that technology advancing faster.
Incredible. Doctor, you have been involved and are involved with so very many different initiatives. Please tell our audience some of the things you've been doing.
Well, I work mostly as an academic in certain institutions in Russia, in Japan, Korea, Spain, here in the USA, looking at technologies and how technologies change human condition. And obviously, we are interested in improving the human condition. So institutions like Singularity University in Silicon Valley, the Millennium Project internationally, the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. I'm really thrilled and excited to see all these new technologies, biotechnology, nanotechnology, that are changing humanity. And the potential is incredible. We are going to be able to sequence the human genome very soon for $10. Everybody in the planet will sequence the human genome. Also, we will sequence cancer cells, and we will understand the mutations that create cancer, and therefore we will attack those mutations specifically. We will cure cancer in 10 years. This is what Microsoft has been saying, that we will be able to cure cancer treating it as a computer virus. And then Google also created Calico over 3 years ago, California Life Company, with the purpose of curing aging and all diseases. Or Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, they also announced in September, October 2016 that they will cure all diseases in their children's lifetime. I mean, this is beautiful, incredible. Medicine is changing very fast, biotechnology, and we have a new world of possibilities.
Bill, you with your research have been subjected to a lot of skepticism throughout your career, a lot of criticism and, I would say, oppression really. Please share with our audience some of these experiences and the impact it's had on addressing the diseases of aging.
Well, Life Extension Foundation has a track record, basically dates back to 1981 as the first recommendation we made to slow down aging, and that was a hormone called DHEA. It's a very inexpensive hormone, now sold as a dietary supplement anywhere. People can now take it. Back in 1981, it was illegal. In fact, when some of our Life Extension members started to import it from Europe, FDA had them arrested. We had to bond those people out, go to court, and win, just to defend these people's rights to live longer. DHEA has been validated in hundreds of studies to help reverse immune senescence, reduce cardiovascular risk, and probably extend healthy lifespan based on every piece of data we've analyzed.
What's next, sir, in that regard as far as miracle drugs are concerned?
I think we've reached a limit when it comes to a pill that someone can take. There's plenty of drugs, nutrients, and hormones out there that can help extend healthy lifespan, but it's now time to reverse aging. And that's going to require some medical intervention. So Life Extension's mission now is to bring the technology into clinical medical practice so that a person who's 88 years of age, suffering many, many comorbidities, is going to be able to grow biologically younger. That is our primary mission at this point in time.
Dr. Cordeiro, what are your thoughts with regard to that?
Yes, we have to try to rejuvenate people, and there are many things that are being experimented, from telomere treatments to regenerative medicine to gene therapy. Gene therapy is also beginning. The use of stem cells for many treatments. New things are being experimented, not only in the USA, but internationally, where there might be less regulations or systems which are more user-friendly, because if a patient wants to try some experiment to do a clinical trial on himself or herself, he or she should be able to do it, because we are really going to be able to cure many of these diseases like we have been done throughout history. I mean, this is nothing new. And we will be able to cure cancer like Microsoft says, and all diseases like Mark Zuckerberg or Google's Calico. We truly are in a turning point in human history.
Bill, please update our audience with regard to breakthroughs at this time.
There are 4 to 6 technologies right now that will probably result in some rejuvenation of older people. We need to clinically validate those. But in proof of concept studies, these involve about 10 to 12 human patients, we've been able to observe reversals of biological aging, both by clinical measurements and anecdotal feedback. Older people feeling and behave they were before they were treated. We need to move this rapidly into the clinical setting. Every day in the United States, 5,000 Americans die of a degenerative disease, an age-related disease that we now believe is reversible. Many of them are reversible anyway with existing technologies.
Absolutely fascinating. Tell us more about technology. So you were involved with the research with NASA and other. What are your thoughts with regard to technology, again, from your perspective?
Well, now that we are beginning to find so many exoplanets, planets outside the solar system, this brings new possibilities in terms of different life forms and how we humans will continue evolving, because we did evolve from other lower forms of life in a way. And the possibilities are mind-boggling. We expect maybe in 10 years to begin colonizing Mars. There will be new things we will discover, new threats and opportunities, and I think we have to begin considering those seriously also in terms of space travel. You know, the biology today is not very good for space travel, so what limitations we have, what opportunities we might discover, how we might be able to cure cancer, or how we can attack other diseases. I think it's incredible what we are going to find in 5, 10, 20 years, including reversing aging and rejuvenating people.
Much of what you have been lecturing on has been treated with skepticism in the past. Are you seeing less of that at the present time?
Yes, I think people are understanding that this will be technologically possible, that this is really science, that scientists are beginning to work on this in many countries. I see this happening in Spain, in Japan, in Korea, obviously in many places in the USA. Some research centers are devoted to that. So I think that people are understanding that this will be possible also because it already happens. In terms of not aging, cancer cells do not age and germinal cells do not age. So the fact that stopping aging is possible is because certain cells do not age. Also, there are basically immortal life forms right now on Earth, like hydras. Hydras do not age. So it happens. I mean, we are not creating something impossible. It already happens in nature, the nature that we know. And it is a matter of understanding how it happened, why cancer mutates and it stops aging in those cells. So I'm very optimistic because once we will be able to sequence genomes massively of cancer cells and normal cells, we will discover many important things. And so maybe the cure to aging might come through cancer, for example. So, and this is new. We never had this level of optimism in a way. And as I said, you know, companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, they are beginning to understand that this will be possible. In Silicon Valley, I see it all the time. People like Peter Thiel, who was an advisor to the transition of President Donald Trump, believe that it will be possible to live indefinitely. And we might be able to reach what is called longevity escape velocity, which is the time that when you live 1 year, for every year you live, you will be able to live a little longer than 1 year and then longer and longer. And this might happen as soon as in 10 years. Ray Kurzweil from Singularity University and Google, he talks about that in as soon as 10 years, basically.
Most fascinating. Bill, how do you see the implementation of these projects? What is needed, in your opinion, to accelerate this research?
The easiest way to allow most of the people watching your program today to live a lot longer and a lot healthier would be to abolish the Food and Drug Administration. Get rid of it altogether. It sounds scary to some people, but they are holding back progress more than most people realize. For example, 1985, Life Extension Foundation recommended a drug that everyone has heard of. It's called Tagamet. It's an anti-ulcer medication. It helps dry out some stomach acid for people who have esophageal reflux and ulcers. It has a side benefit though. Side benefit is it has specific anti-cancer actions. Remember, Tagamet, generic name is cimetidine. You can buy it over the counter. But if you are a colon cancer patient and you take cimetidine 5 days before your surgery and 1 year afterwards, you've got about a 50% better chance of surviving over 10 years than if you did not take the cimetidine. I'm talking about a very simple drug sold over the counter that could reduce colon cancer deaths by 50%. So the obstacle, unfortunately, is not so much the technology, it's the bureaucratic barriers erected by our own federal government. We need to tear down those barriers so the technology can move forward much faster.
Why is such critical information not disseminated, other than through Life Extension magazine?
Well, what's interesting is I'm talking about Tagamet, again, generic name, cimetidine. I hope you put it up on your screen, by the way, so people can look this up. Just go to Google or PubMed, which is the National Library of Medicine's database. Type in cimetidine and colon cancer or cimetidine and cancer. You'll see over 125 published studies indicating it is useful in preventing people with cancer from dying prematurely. Now, that information is in the scientific literature, but there's no commercial interest in disseminating it because no one has a patent on cimetidine and cancer. So we've got a great drug sitting there, very few people using it. And unless you read our Life Extension magazine, you're not going to learn about it because the doctors aren't being told about it. There's no pharmaceutical rep running around saying, prescribe cimetidine to your cancer patients. So the doctors don't know about it, the patients don't know about it, and it is illegal for a company that sells cimetidine to promote it as an anti-cancer drug.
So because there's no profit in it, it's just basically suppressed.
It just sits there, idle, while people are dying. About 50,000 people a year die of colon cancer in the United States. Of course, it's metastatic colon cancer that kills them. Cimetidine could cut that by 50%. That's 25,000 Americans dying needlessly every year in this country because the information about cimetidine is censored by the FDA. Eliminate the FDA, that information gets out there, millions of lives will be saved.
Astonishing. Dr. Cordeiro, on a happier note, tell us how you see the future.
Well, I think that we have to create a positive view of the future because many of the things that we believe end up being self-fulfilling prophecies. So if we think we are going to finish with humanity, this is the end of the world, there is overpopulation, climate change will destroy humanity, it will probably happen. But if we think that we can overcome these problems, that we can live longer, that we will colonize the space, we will go to Mars, then it will probably happen. So these things begin in our minds, and then we create them, we transform ourselves, we transform the world where we live. So it's like looking the glass half full or half empty. It is always better to look at it half full. But also we have to be realistic. And I am, first of all, an engineer. And as an engineer, I think we can create, we can build a better future. We have to strive towards that because the possibilities are still unthinkable. We are soon going to begin colonizing Mars. We are talking about only a decade from now. Imagine all the new possibilities. It's like when our ancestors left Europe to go to the Americas, or even much longer, 60, 70,000 years ago, when our African ancestors left Africa and began colonizing the rest of the world, or when we invented agriculture, or when we invented flight and other things, etc. So I am very optimistic about the future. I believe we have to be very optimistic, but we actually have to work towards that because it will not happen on its own. And too much regulation is one of the problems. Imagine if we begin regulating Mars or flying to Mars without even being there. You know, it will be stopped from the start. And then I think we have to be proactive. We truly have to believe we can do better things, but in a proactive way so that it happens. For example, I don't want to die, and because I think technically, scientifically, it will be possible in 20 to 30 years. But I am working towards that, and the more people work towards that goal, the faster it will happen.
From a science fiction to science fact. Bill, I'd like to share the final thought with you on this. You've experienced so much in your areas of expertise. You have been researching health and longevity, and today I would say things are far more encouraging than ever. What are your thoughts on that?
I see people living a lot longer and a lot healthier very soon, as long as the information is freely disseminating. The good news is, though, that a number of physician scientists have investigational new drug applications ready to file with the FDA, and what's missing right now is the funding. People don't quite yet grasp the concept that we're on the verge of reversing biological aging in humans, and as a result, not a lot of money is being put into it. But once we establish the first case of an elderly human who becomes a much younger person, I believe it will unleash a firestorm of activity, of money, of academic interest, and all of a sudden it'll grow just as quickly, if not faster, than the internet did.
This is absolutely fascinating and very encouraging. A real pleasure, Bill, as always. Thank you, sir, Dr. Cordeiro.
A pleasure.
I'll be right back.
Human age reversal. We may be there already. Human studies are now ready to begin to confirm meaningful reversal of pathological aging processes. These clinical trials aim to alter older humans so that they function as much younger individuals. Even modest success will result in a paradigm shift that will impart enormous societal benefits, such as sparing Medicare from insolvency. Life extension is not standing idle while 5,000 Americans die each day from age-related illnesses. Joining us are physician scientists who want to hurry up these technologies to keep people from aging to death. While life extension is pushing these projects forward, we need financial help to ensure these studies are carried through to fruition. You can support this research by making a tax-deductible donation to Life Extension Society. All donations will be used to fund age reversal research. Join us on this essential mission.